Sure you do your research on the history of that specific team. What is that team known for? What is their style? What are some things that technically you need to be able to do in order to make that team?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Definitely agree with Blair. That's one of the first things I always ask if they're a specific team that they're actually auditioning for. I want to see actual videos of what their style is, the history of that team, what they're specifically looking for in their audition. So I think it's very important that they, one, know the history, like Blair said, and then definitely know what the style of the team is and what, what type of technique you need in order to make it in the first place. So.
I'll actually agree as well. I think those were both really well-rounded answers that kind of encompass everything I'm explaining to my dancers too, but I'm also expecting for them to know what the academic requirements are as well. Getting into the schools and also maintaining those grades and necessary components to being able to remain on the team. Different teams have different requirements. So really reaching out and having a full understanding of what the academic expectation is as well.
Those are all great answers, and I agree. One of the most important things that I stress to dancers when they come to my workshops is just really, it's important to know the style and the history of the school that you want to go to, or the team that you want to dance for. And it also helps me to know, because if you want to go to a school whose style that I can't master, I'm going to find you extra help or better help. So just being clear and on the same page for the most part with the dancers, so that they're getting what they need, and so that we're giving them, what they need as well, to help prepare them for their audition.
Mm-hmm. Now I want to throw this wrench out there, and this is a wrench. Social media has, taken a segment of our teams places where we haven't really been before, and some teams are way more seen. They're way more popular visually than others, as you guys know from all of the fan pages, and it's gone past fan pages of the teams. There's fan pages of different people on the team, which I find kind of creepy, but okay, that's where we are. For some of you coaches out there, what do you do, or how do you feel about someone who may not be able to execute your style, but they love your team? They love your team, and for whatever reason, they love your team. They either love it because of what they see, or they love it, because their mom and dad went to the school and that's all they ever want to do, that I just always want to go here, or so how do you kind of manage that? Because some of them are going to come and audition and they're just not going to be able to execute what you need them to.
Hi everybody, my name is Lauren. I'm the Champagne coach for South Carolina State University. So for me, I would say, because I actually coached high school and college, or collegiate, before I got this position, I was coaching in Atlanta, Georgia. And I remember a lot of people were saying, well, what style does your high school have? Are they the Stingettes? Are they like the Dolls? Are they like, what do they look like? And I'm like, they look like high school dancers. I feel like, sometimes some of the high schools, they only go off of certain collegiate teams, and which I think is not fair, because as they come for actual auditions, they cannot master, like Sean was saying, certain styles. So I do think that it's important that they go to clinics, and unfortunately right now doing clinics are a little bit hard, but I do think that clinics, once they actually go, they can really see, okay, could I possibly master this style before auditions, or is this really something that I just can't do right now? So I do think that clinics is really important, because it also helps us as coaches give them feedback as to what they really need to work on prior to auditions.
Yeah. Anyone else?
Hi, everyone. I'm Stephanie Magruder. I'm the coach for Scarlet Lace at Winston-Salem State University. And as Lauren said, we've held camps before COVID when we were allowed to have camps. And it was a great opportunity to see, first of all, girls that was interested in your team. Secondly, the potential for those girls to make your team. And we always had a component in that clinic where we would give them feedback on what they look like, what they need to work on. We actually give them a handwritten sheet or a sheet, and we checked off certain items, and we gave them verbal feedback so that they can go and work on their craft.
I want to throw this out to Gary. Color guard, they're not quite out there as much as the dancers are right now. So what are some things that high school coaches or high school performers can do to get information about what color guard teams out there? I know for a fact and they can tell you on our meetings, I'm always like, we got to get more information out about the color guards. I've been on this mission to try and find as much information as possible on color guard and flag corps and other auxiliary teams with our HBCU bands, just so that people can be aware, because I don't think they are. Do you have any ideas or thoughts about what performers can do to get more information on color guard teams?
Well, one is like doing your research to see what schools even offer or have a color guard or a flag line, so to speak. And it's a dying art still, everybody at some point, not everybody, but it used to be so common, and then it died out. So even with bands who used to have flag lines, they don't have them anymore. They don't have color guard anymore. And so you're already limited in options. Two, so it's like now, okay, well now I have to find a school that actually has, because some people have went to the doing both. Like that's some people thing, and then some people have it split, and so that's the thing. And then you have like a lot of girls who were on color guard in high school and then may have to pick up and learn a dance component that they really didn't have strong foundations. So it's really like a catch-22. And so the best thing that I've been able to do with and the crazy part about it is, for the last while, I've always kind of taught my team where they did both. Obviously, why? That's what I'm accustomed to. But when I solely had a color guard and I've had performers go off and march on collegiate teams, I taught them the best of my ability with the skill set that I did. But wherever they told me that they were going to school, what we did was we researched and saw what they did. A lot of times, sadly, what I was doing on my level superseded what they were doing when they got to college. So a lot of times they didn't even stay on those teams because they were bored. So I also have to make them do their research that if you want to do this or do that, we need to be looking here. So it's kind of off, but I just prepare them in the best way that I can, and find the schools that do have it, and send them there.
Right. Now, I also noticed that Coach G joined us. I'm trying to make sure she's still on, because I know she was on her phone. But hey, Coach, I see you. Now, Coach, I just got to tell you, I love the Sensations, man.
Oh, thank you.
I love them. I do. I love them so much. Like, I can't even tell you. I'll have to call you. I just love them. But a lot of another thing that I've been trying to do is get all the information on our basketball and competitive teams. And the Texas Southern Sensations are the basketball performing team at Texas Southern. And so what advice would you give our high school coaches and performers about even considering the basketball squads and why they should consider and that kind of thing?
Well, I'm not sure which coach it was, but or maybe it was you who mentioned that the visuals, social media has been very good during COVID for various reasons. I learned that there are many young ladies out there that do not know that there are NBA dance teams or even basketball dance teams. The only thing that they know are majorette dance teams. So to me, it has been a blessing that we had to turn to videos, for our basketball performances, because through our videos, we have been able to show the world that there are also basketball dancers and just not, majorette dance teams.
Mhm.
So, it's been a blessing for us. And thank you for that compliment, Sean.
I
Thank
love
you.
it. I love them. I love everything of this.
Just, I wish that we would, because I would say that everyone knows the Golden Blues,
Mm-hmm.
the Golden Blues. But at first, no one even knew that we had a basketball dance team.
Mm-hmm.
So social media helped us a lot.
Cool. So yeah, I would, and I would definitely say, to, our high school seniors and those high school coaches is to, present that as an option, because, we do get, most of us can tell you, we've seen people come through our auditions, and they just have a different style. They're just
Right.
they're just prone to a different
Right.
style.
Right.
For me, and I know
You're right.
for me,
And I have tried everything since I was the majorette coach, the motion coach. I have done everything to let people see the significant difference between majorette dance and jazz hip hop dancing. So performance dancing or competition dancing. So I just I like it, and I hope that other schools become more involved in their dance teams, because not every girl has the experience or the style to become a majorette. Even when I was coaching the motion, a lot of the girls came to auditions and they realized, wow, it may look easy on video, but once they actually get to the audition, they're just awkward because they can't catch the style.
Right, and I'm trying to gather that information as well. Information on all of our basketball / competitive teams, so that we can make that available to everyone, and start to highlight them a little bit more. And again, highlight our color guard and flag lines a little bit more, because I just feel like our our students, our performers need to know about those. So I want to give just a couple like specific things. Britt kind of hinted about applying, checking the university and what their admission requirements are, and what their educational their requirements are to be able to get in. But also, I want to add to that is that you want to, like, I have a website out there for our auditions, and I know many of you do. Make sure that your students are reading those websites thoroughly, and I'll tell you why. It's the part of the audition actually starts when you go click on that link, because we are paying attention to whether you follow instructions, and Shauna said, absolutely. Yes. We are paying attention to whether your students are following instructions, and I got a folder in my email that I keep just the emails I get, and I keep that because you have to, you guys already know that we don't have a whole lot of time for stuff sometimes. Sometimes they'll come to you on Monday and say, hey, we need a new routine. You got to perform on Saturday. And we need this. And then you got to go and perform here. And then you got to go and perform there. And you need performers that can follow directions. And if they can't go and look at a website and follow directions, that's a problem, and it's something that we do, at least I do. I pay attention to that. Other things too is tell them that DMs is not always the way to go. Please have a working email address that they monitor. Because I can't tell you again how many young ladies have put email addresses on my application that didn't work. Okay, and then they would send me a DM on Instagram, and I think some of y'all already know how quickly I look at those. So I'm not real good with the Instagram DMs. I try my best, but it's I will do better. I promise to do better. But those are some of the just like the very tactical things that you want to tell your young ladies too. I had another incident, and it's not the first time that I've had it. When they do email, and I know this is gonna sound petty, and some of y'all you might shake your head and go, I don't know about that, but we all know each other here, so I'm fine with y'all calling me Sean. It bugs me when someone that I don't know emails me and calls me Sean. I don't quite like that. And again, it kind of tells you something about the person. So there's just a way that you address people that you don't know. And to me, and I am blah, years old, right? And I have these visions of my mother's hand coming out the sky and slapping me across the room for me addressing somebody the wrong way. Okay, so part of it is just me and the way I was raised, and I totally get that. But just have them be careful about, because you just never know. It's always better to be a little bit too conservative than not conservative enough. And then if a person is fine with you calling them by their first name, they'll say, no, call me Britt, or, call me, right? So that's just.
Can I add to that?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, y'all. I'm staying on mute because I'm got my kid. But hi everybody, I'm Ray and I coach at Spelman, but I also coach at Westlake High School. And to Sean's exact point, and making sure that my high schoolers aren't making those missteps, I try to vet their audition process as they start to go through it. Now, sometimes, the seniors, they think they know better and they don't really tell you anything. I get an email that says, hey, Coach Ray Cole, I auditioned for so-and-so and so-and-so. And I'm like, oh, well, I hope you make it. Rather than, hey, Coach, I'm thinking about auditioning for this. What do you suggest? Can I run this by you? And so, those things happen. So I do try to say to my high schoolers, hey guys, don't just go jumping off the deep end and then coming back to me mad because you didn't make the squad. I said, first, you should have communicated with your coach about how to best approach a coach, especially since I coach a college squad. Like, come on now. But I don't know how to really get that across, especially when they may have a parent who is like, well, we can do this, blah, blah, blah. So maybe in our workings with the high schoolers, we make sure that that is something that we reiterate especially to your seniors. Hold on, baby. Especially to your seniors who may think they know everything because they may have been on your team for 2 or 3 years and, oh, I got it. I know they might even be your captain at that point, but they don't really understand that there is a stark difference between what the expectation is at the high school level and what the expectation is at the college level. Here,
Thank
baby,
you.
is this enough?
Does anybody else have anything to go out to throw out there about how to prepare, what they should be thinking about and working on, and thinking what should they do when they decide on a team that they want to audition for? How should they prepare?
Well, I actually just started. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, you're fine.
I was going to say, I just started with this team on the high school level, and I am completely rebranding from scratch. We have a very passionate alumni system that is not very active, but they have a lot of opinions on how things should and should not be done. And just with the student body that I'm dealing with, I have a lot of kids that have no clue or any sort of exposure to anything looking towards college, and even thinking and knowing that dance or auxiliary is a possibility for them. So this year is the first year I'm getting them full reins, no one else attached to it. And I am doing a seminar with them during summertime that it's literally entitled, "You Think You Know, But You Don't." And it is going to be a breakdown of everything that a collegiate coach would be expecting of you, down to, and it's funny you said that about the emails, because I even have in my context to teach them how to format a proper email. Mm-hmm. Hello, hi, where does the subject line go in that email? How short you need to keep it? What is a bullet? It's almost like giving you an elevator pitch, but selling yourself. And then also to the same point on having that checklist, knowing attire, style, look, how to speak, how to carry yourself. What does the audition process look like if it lasts more than 2 days? Mm-hmm. All these components that, again, they naturally assume they know, but I've already told dancers from last year, even the ones that are looking to graduate and go on, don't you dare go talk to anyone before you talk to me. And I just have to be that blunt with them, because I want them to have the opportunity for success. But if you just go off and do it on your own, like you said, 9 times out of 10, they're lost in a DM anyway. They haven't even gone to find the proper email to correctly address anyone. So I tell them very bluntly, no, if you have an option, you have a dream, you have a want, talk to me first. I will help you. And if I cannot help you, I'm going to find the resource for you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And very good points that she mentioned. I'm also transitioned to a new school. So this will be my 3rd year at my current school, which is New Manchester in Douglasville, Georgia. But with my previous school, I was there a long time. And I had this thing with the girls that I would just let them know if they were interested in auditioning for a collegiate team that I would take them to their auditions. So it was kind of like a fun trip, and every senior was looking forward to their senior year. Like, oh, I know coach is going to take me, to wherever, barring distance, of course. But that was one way that I definitely helped the girls and made sure that they were prepared, because I was with them. So there was no funny business like, hey, let's make sure you have your outfit. If a team or a specific school requires you to wear a specific thing, we would put that on before we left Georgia. Let's make sure this looks right. Okay, I don't like it. Let's get a different bottom. It's not flattering. You might think it looks good, but I think a better cut, is something you can do differently, or I don't like that color. Mm-hmm. Down to their hair. When you wore your hair that way, that one game, I really liked that. I think you should do your hair that way for the auditions. It makes you look a little bit more mature. Mm-hmm. You are 17 or you are 18, mm-hmm. but you're going to be going to a collegiate team. They don't want you to look like a baby anymore. It was cool in high school, right. But we need something else. Right. Makeup. The makeup choices that some of our young ladies choose isn't the best. They might think it is, but you have to help them and encourage them. If she said red lip, she means a red lip for audition. She doesn't mean pink plum or peach. Just being very specific with what it is and making sure that they're putting their best foot forward. If you don't have the most toned body, even though we would have been working on that leading up to auditions, make sure you put on something that flatters your body, not shows your imperfections, because we all have them. Your headshot, or what picture that you're going to put with your application, it doesn't need to be something that you took with your cell phone. It doesn't need to have filters. It needs to be a nice photo. We're not saying that you can't or you have to have a professional headshot done. You could though, it's not that expensive, but something that looks nice and looks decent, makes you look like you tried. When you are writing your application, making sure that your punctuation and grammar is correct. If they're asking you for a letter of recommendation, look over the letter of recommendation before you just have them submit it. Did they do what they were supposed to do? Did they include all of the parts that the team is asking for? It's just those small things. Going back way, way back, did you even look to see if the school had your major? Like, girl, what are you doing? You can't go to that school. You said you wanted to do political science. They don't have that. And those are things that, you know, a junior should be looking at into what major they're going to be majoring in. But oftentimes you'll get some people that wait till their senior year, which is fine, to establish a major. And then, oh, I want to be a Black Fox, or I want to be a stinghead, looking at the majors, and there's nothing there for you. So
Right.
what are you going to do?
Let's just go ahead and pass the plate around, because you just preached a sermon up in here.
Wait, and I have one more thing. I've had an issue with moms not allowing their children to go that distance. So I'm like, you want to go to Prairie View so bad. I want you to go to Prairie View too. But mama said no. So let's move on.
Yeah.
And I also, just to piggyback off of what Ray and Blair said, I think it's really important that high school coaches, once you come in, no matter if that's your first year, your second, whatever, you need to get to know these girls and not wait or ask them until their senior year, you know, as to, okay, what do you want to do? Like I told you guys, I coached back in Atlanta, and I found out one of my students, it was my last year coaching there before I came to state, and she auditioned for the Stingettes. And I was like Ray's face, oh, who helped you? Because I know when I first got you, you were just starting out, you were a sophomore, and, you know, there was no progression. There was nothing happened. And unfortunately, she did not make the team. But again, they go off of social media as to what they see, and they're like, oh, that's where I want to go. But you might not even be at that level. But then also the high school coaches are not going out and preparing them. You know, you have to prepare them, not just their senior year, you know, the entire time that you have them. So I think that is really important too, that they prepare not just their senior year, especially if they're just starting off on a team. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. And then you're just going off of the highest teams off of social media, and girl, you know that ain't it. It's not it. Like, it's okay.
So how do you, for those of you who are high school coaches out here, how do you approach, or how are you feeling about level setting and properly setting expectations for your dancers? Because are your and I say performers because it includes color guard and majorette as well. But how because let's just face it, not all of your dancers are gonna be able to make certain teams, you know, based on, and again, we talked about it a little bit with, you know, with Coach G about, you know, there are other dance organizations. I know at Prairie View we got like 4 different, there's so many opportunities to dance at Prairie View, is ridiculous. So how do you level set and kind of guide them in the right direction? And or are you just the kind of person to say, well, you know, if you want to dance for that team, go try out for that team, knowing that they're probably not a fit for that team?
I'm honest. Number one, I'm honest. You know me, and I'm very honest. So I tell them off gate, but anything is also possible. I look at one of my former students who is now the captain of Golden Delight, Marcy. I took Marcy, who had no dance experience outside of, she was a cheer, straight gymnastics, straight cheer, no dance, no flag, no nothing. I saw her walking in the hallways and said, hey, she's a tall, pretty girl. Let me go get her. And she came through. She was interested anyway, so she came in. And so I already knew, in order for you to make my team, you got to learn how to spin a flag anyway. So that was that part that I had to do. But so we fast forward, and now it's time for her to audition. Well, she wasn't even thinking about being on a collegiate team or anything. So we were having a football game, and Tiffany and Tanika came to the game, the coaches of Golden Light. They came to the game, and they was like, who is this tall girl back here in the back? I'm like, well, she's Marcy Lawson. She's a new girl. She's a senior. She decided she wanted to do auxiliary. So we fast forward, they looking at her. So now I'm telling her, hey, you got people looking at you now. So now we got to take this thing serious. So the big thing was every auxiliary I know, collegiate, I see y'all flyers all the time. I repost them. So everybody's doing clinics, some type of something. It's some type of something going on now with all of these teams. It's not like 20 years ago where you didn't know, you just had to pop up and you audition and you had a band tape. Like now we're in the age of social media. So now you have all of this, but now a lot of these girls like to fall into the we like to mimic a squad and we don't have the material, we don't have the technique. So we like to do a lot of mimicking of what we see. And so I used to have certain girls on my teams who were not my best girls, and they thought that they can go be big and bad and audition for these teams because they would go mimic and see what they were doing on YouTube and not the technique that goes into what those particular girls are doing. Because I trained you to do X, Y, and Z, but now you want to be big and bad. So I have to be real when they wouldn't make the team. And I'd be like, so how does it feel when you already knew and I told you that? And I'm not crushing them, but I'm very honest because when you follow directions and you know, you're not setting yourself up for failure. And that's the big thing because now you're in a grown woman's world. You're not a child anymore. And just because you thought that the dance parents on DD4L can come and shut down rehearsal and save you, that's not going to happen on a college team.
Mm.
It's not. It don't even happen on my high school team. So why do you think it's going to happen on a college team? So
Adrian just gave the thumb up.
so first there, yeah, I have to start really breaking them down in that piece for them to get before. I have sent girls to Miss Magruder who have marched on Scarlet Lace. I have girls who have marched on the color guard there too, like have marched at Scent. I had one of my worst girls probably when she made Scarlet Lace. I was like, listen here, because I knew how Miss Magruder do her auditions. I said, listen here, when you go in this audition, you're not just going to be performing for a small room of people. You're going to be in front of the student body.
Everybody.
Everybody. And I had this one girl that went and embarrassed herself. Embarrassed herself. I told her, I was like, listen here, you got to do that. So sometimes I'm one of those people, I will let you embarrass yourself when you don't follow directions, because in college, a lot of times your coach is going to expose you. They're not going to be nice because you got 7 days to get it right in between shows.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And by that time you on to show 2 and 3. And so it's a lot of I have to be real. I have to be real with my teams before I send them off. And I don't know if I just went on a tangent, but I have to be real with them. And that's a lot of these girls. A lot and a lot of them, like when they go to these teams, they they have this expectation. Well, I saw YouTube, I saw this, I saw that. And then you got their parents in the back boosting them up, like, well, yeah, girl, come on. Well, bump what your coach said. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna do it anyways. And I'm gonna be super power mom and I'm gonna get you on this team. Scratch, because first of all, you can't even come in the audition. So that's like already. So you needed your coach to begin with. So that goes back to what all the ladies said before me. Like when they had these girls, they went to audition for these teams, they didn't make it and all of this stuff. You need your coach. You need all of that. And it falls back in hand. But the big thing is a lot of these girls, what I see when they go to college is they lack basic technique to even go to anybody's squad. Like not even the style. It goes back to the technique of just dance in general. They don't even have, a lot of them don't even have that. You can't even point your toe.
Yeah.
First of all, when you go in there, so you showing up already wrong.
That's a good segue because I was just going to ask Lee and Tiara, because you know you guys are actively doing these prep classes. If you had to say, what is your basic minimum, understanding that every team doesn't have the same requirement for technique, but on just at a minimum, what are you guys thinking, or what are you guys telling the performers that come to your classes? At a minimum, this is what you need, and be specific about technique. What do they need to be able to do?
I keep trying to unmute. Anyway, okay, so I basically go based off of what the audition state. I know Ms. Shawn's really good about giving a list of the technique that the girls need. And I basically tell them they have to have every single thing on that list. It may be times where it may be like, okay, you need to work on this or that. But honestly, I tell them, like, if you don't have this, you're not going to make the team. So, I mean, I'm just really blunt with them and forthcoming. I don't really sugarcoat it. So I don't know. But that's kind of what I go based off of, work on it from there.
T, what about you?
Same. I always ask Miss Shawn for an updated list of the across the floor technique skills for the audition. And I let the girls know, you know, it's just different. Gary, I think that everything you just said was so important, especially now, but also to my personal experience coming in when I was auditioning for the Black Foxes. But, you know, I let the girls know that, like Lee said, everything on this list is important. Even for the young ladies who are beautiful technicians, they are the best of the best where they are now. And trying to get them to understand that once you go off to school, nobody cares about how great you were at home, because we all great from wherever we from in the room. And so just with even down to technique for the audition process, when I'm doing prep classes, like I let the girls know who are good or who are struggling, whatever. I just let them know, you know, you have to perform this too. I mean, just because your turns and your leaps are beautiful, if you look like in the face, you know, you have no expression, or you just don't want, you look like you don't want to be there, or, you know, I don't know, it's a fine line between things looking you looking comfortable and things just looking effortless. And so I try to explain that to the girls. And again, like Gary said, you know, there's no guarantee that you're going to make the team just because you're this good or whatever. Technique is very important, and it's more important than it was, however long ago it was. When was that? 2013, whenever I was auditioning and trying to come in, because I didn't learn that from where I was from, but I was a good dancer. And so I would see things even after I had made the team, because at the time we had when we did the 2 auditions, prelims and then band camp audition. Okay, I made the prelims, and I remember I hurt myself trying to do a turn and leap in second because I saw another fox do it on Instagram. I mean, it looks easy. You are good from where you come from. It looks like a toe touch, but without really knowing how to do that stuff, you really hurt yourself. And like you said, you can embarrass yourself. And so I think that, as Gary said,
just hurt yourself.
Yes,
yeah.
I hurt my groin. I remember. But just, you know, I think it's important that we as coaches, well, you all as coaches and us as just trainers for collegiate dance, you know, just really be honest with these girls about going into the audition process. I don't remember who it was. I think it was Blair speaking about hair and makeup. You know, your hair is cute for when you out with your friends, but this ain't how you wear your hair when you're auditioning. And so just being real with the ladies and letting them know, you know, being real like Gary, I think that's the best that we can all do for the dancers.
And I think it's another thing on top of it. Like, yeah, technique is one part, but you can be a flawless, like T was saying, you can be a flawless dancer, but if you don't have that style, like, what are you? It just like I don't know, you just look really awkward at that point. But and I would say that because like style is one thing. Well, I think everyone, we all understand what I'm saying, but basically just that you can have one but not have the other, and you still lack in auditions, and then you're upset because, oh, I had every technical move they had, but you didn't take the time. You knew that you had technique. Why didn't you take the time when you were training to really focus and zone in on that style part? Because it all is hand in hand. That's another thing.
Even what you just said, Lee, but beyond it, you know, you can make the team, but I know we did, and other teams may still have audition processes once you're on the team. You have to audition for the field, for the stands. So just because your turns are great, you're going to get that 2 minutes on the field, but you're putting your warm-up back on when it's time to hit the stands, because style is important. Am I lying?
Space.
But it's all important. You need it all.
Y'all don't understand. I was on a 3-hour call this morning with my coaching staff because we are racking our brains on who we're going to choose for captain this year for exactly that reason.
Yeah.
I have some beautiful technicians, but I just want to cut your head off. And just and I mean, you touched the nerve. I almost spit my drink out. You know, it's a talking, you know, brew. So I was drinking my drink.
Yeah.
She almost made me spit out my drink.
Yeah, I saw that. Gary, for color guard and flag, be specific. Give me a short list of, and I know we all see different terminology when it comes to color guard, but you know, what at a minimum should they be going to a college audition with? Because, and I will tell you, full disclosure, a lot of color guards, but Purview as well, takes young flag twirlers, color guard people that have no experience. And luckily our coach she's former DCI, so she's got a very deep background in color guard. So she teaches them, and some of them pick up and some don't. And the ones that don't kind of fall by the wayside. But let's just say in a perfect world, Gary, what at a minimum, short list of what they should be able to go there with?
So at a minimum, you need to first of all understand equipment. Number one, if you're going to audition for that team, if you were used to spinning on a 5-foot pole in high school and they spin on 6-foot poles, you need to start working on that already. And they're not going to care how short you are. It's a part of it because you have to understand the flag and the size of it and all of that. So you need to know basic knowledge of, you know, how to stand at right shoulder, and that's standing here at right shoulder and having your flag, staying at attention. Number one, knowing how to have a basic concept of what a drop spin is. You know, people got different terminology for what they call it, but I think everybody call a drop spin a drop spin. Knowing how to do a push spin, knowing what your angles are, hand positions. Like hand positions are key on the flag. So just knowing where your hand goes, all of those things, it's the basic things. So just kind of knowing your basic concepts of how to do a drop, a push spin, have some type of, however, some people call them back scratchers, different things. Know the basic things that everybody do, because at the team that you may be going to, they might not even be doing all of that. It's some college teams that TikTok the whole time. So you got to go find and be what's best at what they do. And I mean, I'm not being shady, I'm being real. I mean, I'm just being real, because the thing about it is a lot of emphasis is always put on the dance line, and that's nothing wrong, because that's what you see. That's the first thing you see. But it's like when we get to the flags, some programs drop the ball. And so you really have to just kind of know. And even if you the best for where you come from, like we already stated, you still got to fall back, because you still a nobody when you get there. It's still that captain that where they are on the team, that's where they are. And you may know more than her, but you still that rookie. So it's just knowing those basic things, and then kind of knowing how to pick up and learn. And even if it's taught to you wrong, I mean, and I'm being real, like with you going there, you have to go to what that style is of what you know. And then when you get your turn to have input as an upperclassman or a captain, then you decide to do that. But until then, know the basic things. So just kind of know and get with somebody if you don't know much on flag. And if you want to know flag, there's a lot of people.
Go to a workshop, because I know a lot of schools, in fact, Winston-Salem is having a workshop like right this minute. That's why Jill couldn't make the call today, but you know, they have the workshops just like the dancers do. I'm not so sure about majorettes, but I'm gonna Catherine McCallahan is our majorette and our twirling expert, and so I asked her to give me a list of things that she thought was basic technique that twirlers should have, and that list is and I absolutely know none of what this is, but flash and thumb toss, one spin, horizontal toss from the left and the right hand, toss arm circle, toss catch in left, catch in the right, and backhand, arm, elbow, and neck roll, two spin, toss, arm. Now again, I have no idea what those things are, but I asked her. I asked her because I think that it's important Says stamina on both hands is helpful, and that is from Mr. Tucker. Stamina on both hands, and that is, and that's right. Shoot, stamina on both sides for the dancers is important too. I can't even tell you what my across the floor looks like
And flag stamina.
when I call out and tell them do the other side. Oh, it's literally like they're not dancers. I just know, they'll go on their good side and they're beautiful and perfect. I say, okay, other side, and I'm like, okay, who are y'all? So, that's also something that they can work on. So let's move forward a little bit and talk about being that most of us are doing virtual, at least virtual preliminary, if not your entire process being virtual. The preliminary round is virtual. Trying to convey in a video format is not as easy as it sounds. So to my guest, what are some of the things that these performers should be considering when they're putting their videos together, whether they're putting a video together or whether they are prepping for a live streamed performance? Either one.
They need to understand it's the same as an in-person audition. We had videos last year. Last year was our first year doing virtual, I'm sure, like as everyone else. And I had a girl who, by the time she finished her sachet, she was already to the other wall. She couldn't even do the leap. The size of the room was so small. It's like, okay, well, that's not going to work. They need to know you need to go outside. When you're going outside, don't videotape the cars and everybody else screaming, in the background. Still prep yourself, full makeup, hair, two-piece, or whatever the requirements are for your particular school. I just feel like a lot of them took it for granted because it was virtual, and they did not think like, oh, well, since I'm not in person, I don't have to wear the proper shoes. I don't have to wear the proper tights. I don't have to wear, whatever. I do feel like coaches or whoever their mentors still need to help them realize, okay, it is virtual. So you do still have to look like what you would do in person. My senior year of high school, Blair actually prepped me to audition for Champaign, and we were outside. There was nobody out there. Had on the two-piece. She told me everything what to do. So I do feel like everybody needs to still take it as seriously as an in-person audition.
Mm-hmm. Britt, what about you? Now, Britt, full disclosure too, Britt is also one of my clinicians and adjudicators. So she's helped me pick the foxes the last, how many years now? What, 3, 4? 4.
Yeah, about 3 or 4 years this past few years. And specifically on the high school side for me, because again, I cannot reiterate enough, we are starting over, completely over. And the biggest thing for me is I function off of lists and checklists, because it goes back to the same thing of those requirements for dance team and setting yourself up for potential failure. If you know, and I feel like doing the back diligence on my job as a coach and knowing what these specific teams ask are, I feel like if you don't have a coach that isn't aware, then how are you going to actually be prepared for success in any audition, in any case? So for me, having those, because, the interview and how you introduce yourself is already a game changer. Can you even introduce yourself within the first 2 minutes of speaking? And then knowing all the additional requirements that are coming down from there, I like to sit down. My past dancers that I've worked with in the past, going through collegiate auditions, I give them a sit down on every single component, the things that have been talked about today, so that there's no guesswork involved, especially now with the virtual component. We mark it down by video, introduction, whatever skill it is, how you put it in your in the video in the margin, announcing what it is that you're doing, knowing your spacing. And you're right. I've looked through too many videos where the leap, I never even saw the leap. I just saw a grand jeté and I saw the back end of your flexed foot through the screen. That's all I saw. So knowing your spacing, I think if I can speak to one particular audition video we saw in because of lockdowns, one of the dancers they had a serious lockdown in their city to where she could not even leave outside of her apartment. So she was doing her best, But she referenced that in her interview. I didn't take it as an excuse, but I took it as an informative basis on the fact that you do have constraints around you. So this is what you're able to give. But I truly believe your coaching is your best setup. And if you don't have a coach, outsource yourself to find someone who can help you, especially in the virtual process. There's a lot of pride in high school dancers. And a lot of egos where they think they can just get up and go do whatever, however, whenever, and that's just simply not the case. So I actually love the fact that everyone on this call is a realist. You know, they're not very lollipops and gumdrops and just go try and see how it works. No, absolutely not. No, there's a literal process that you need to follow. I still call it, Ms. Zachary knows that I still call it the dancing doll heartbreak. Everybody wants to be a dancing doll in Baton Rouge, and half of Baton Rouge doesn't have dancing doll quality or technique or skill. So if you're going out there ill prepared, then expect piss poor results.
I'm gonna go to give a couple of our other coaches a chance to speak. Shauna Granger, coach of the Alabama A&M Dancing Divas. Do you have any because are you guys doing a virtual round?
Yes, we are. We actually just started ours, and our videos are due April the 9th. And then the finalists will be welcome back at the end of April.
Awesome. So what tips did you give the people that were going to submit videos to you?
So it's interesting because a lot of what has already been said are some of the things, a lot of what I said when we had our session. So one of the things that I also focus on is we ask for a letter of recommendation when they make it to that second step of auditions. And if they are on a current squad and the recommendation letter is not from their current coach, to me, it just sends off red flags because I then want to know why. And I will start asking. And I mean, and a lot of times there's an underlying issue that, you know, of course, they don't want me to know. They don't realize that, you know, we have relationships with some of the high schoolers, you know, because after you've had one or two that come from the same high school, you'll start to kind of see a trend. And if you develop those relationships with those coaches, I can call and say, okay, I've got one of yours coming. What's the scoop? What is the deal? Because I love talent, but I like to kind of know what I'm getting into before I get them. I also like hard work. And I always tell my girls that, you know, when you guys were talking about the stylistic part versus the technical part, I just believe that hard work will work when talent doesn't want to. And I mean, I tell mine that all the time, that just having the technique only means that you meet our basic requirement. It only means that you check the boxes, but you have to have the heart, you got to have the passion, you got to have the determination, you got to have all of that in order to be successful on our team and to maintain, you know, a spot on our team and to dance.
Absolutely.
I love that you require that recommendation letter. I think I've written 2 letters for your squad. Yes. And I'm brutally honest in those letters. And I love that you require them because what it tells them is, I forgot who said it. I think it was Gary. He said, you need your coach. You need your coach because your coach is going to be able to tell the next coach, like, look, this is her strength. This is her weakness. And when they read it, because someone else said, make sure you read the letter, because if you don't make it, one of my girls made it for you and one of my girls didn't. And I said, when you don't make it, you can see where the parallels lie, because I ain't lying your letter. I ain't never gonna lie in your letter. But what it allows you to do is if there are parallels that are drawn between what your current coach is saying and what that college coach is saying, then it gives you some more motivation to go back and get your ish together. Or if you realize that dancing is not for you, then go ahead and make it not for you. But let's not dance around in that gray area. Either you're going to pull it up or you just need to put it off.
Do other coaches feel like, I guess the recommendation letter is better than doing interviews? Because I've actually been going back and forth about dropping the interviews for this season, just because I just feel like some of the girls honestly BS their way through, and sometimes we can catch it and sometimes we can't. So I have been trying to go back and forth. So do other coaches, like, do you guys feel like the recommendation letters are better than interviews?
Hey, Lauren, let me say this. This is Shauna again. I do both. But I ask for the recommendation letters about a week before we're scheduled to do interviews, because sometimes I will ask, how do you think Coach, if I were to ask Coach Henry to describe you in one word, what do you think she would say? And I just want to see if it's consistent with what I'm getting from the letter.
Okay.
And I think that's a great idea. I need to do that as well. We did interviews and then stopped doing them. And I've been thinking about letter of recommendations. So I'm considering all of that. But I will say to the coaches, make sure you clear that with your band director, only because this don't happen everywhere, but it happens here. Only because if a parent gets upset, they're going to skip right over you and go to the band director. So the band director needs to be aware of this process, this part of your process, so that when they have a sit down, with the parent, if they have a sit down with the parent, because some band directors don't play that. But if something happens, at least the band director understands and knows what went on, because there is nothing worse than being blindsided by something they didn't even know you were doing. And it's really unfortunate in this era that we have to do that with certain people, like ask for letters of recommendation, like, yeah, but I think it's a great idea. I would just recommend, guys, that you make sure your band director knows that you're doing that, because I've dealt with being called into the president's office, the president of the university, over parents and stuff. So just to be safe, just to cover yourself. All right. So anything else in regards to the video? I'm a tactical technician type person. I got a list of things. For that video, again, as every coach and every adjudicator here has said, follow the directions. Okay. Try to find the best space that you can that is uncluttered and doesn't have family members watching TV in the background in it. Yes, that has happened. Try to again, so I said, make sure your dance space is safe. You definitely want to do the hair and the makeup and whatever it is that is required by the organization that you are auditioning for. Make sure your music can be heard. And if it can't be, if it's a bad sound quality, then go ahead and get the video, then lay the music over your video so at least the music can be heard. Do not edit your video submission. And this is something that I, have to tell the people that come forward for Fox auditions. We're not looking for a music video. We're not looking for, this creative thing where, you go and dance in front of the state capitol, and then you go and dance, on a bridge, and then you go and dance somewhere else, and then you edit it all together. And now we've got this video. That's not what we're looking for. So we have to be able to see one full execution of the dance where we can see your full body while you're dancing. I've also told them, don't turn in old videos from their competition days, where they've got like the long flowy dresses on and all that. I want you to get a dance, record it, and submit it. So I try to be real clear about that kind of thing. Do not edit your video. Record it as many times as you want to, and pick the best one. But look at it first before you submit it. Don't just record it and then hit send. Props.
And So with that, looking over the recording, have someone with a keen eye look over the
Yes.
recording too,
Mhm.
and redo it if it's not good or if it's not right or if they provide you with some feedback.
Yes.
Just redo it. And there was a comment in the chat that don't have a group video and we have to figure out who you are. Yes, absolutely.
Right. That's hard. That's hard. Now, last year we had to do that because everybody was on such strict lockdown. I had one young lady from Washington D.C. and they were still on very strict lockdown. So, we did that. Um, we did that, but it's not the same this year. So I'm hoping that we don't have those problems. And yes, Coach Magruder said, make sure you show your personality in the video, be expressive and show musicality. And that's really important because, I don't think they understand that sometimes you have to overdo things a little bit when you're trying to project through the means of video. It's not the same as being there in person. So you want to definitely show your personality. Don't attempt any skills that you cannot do. Do not put those in your video. Just don't. You want to show the best of what you have to offer, the best, the absolute best. And if there's something that, if you're trying to get fancy and there's something that you just cannot do, just don't do it, because that'll be an automatic out. Okay. Cool.
Bishon, I have a question.
Yes.
And it's a coach's question. So I know through my audition processes, like the solo round, it was more so a style or genre that the dancer felt comfortable with displaying. Is it still that way, or are coaches preferring to see more of what their team does in a video versus your lyrical?
I would venture to say that it will vary by the team and vary by the coach. For us, we get from that solo video, we are able to ascertain a couple of things. One is their creativity. Two is their ability to project and to show their personality and to showcase their strengths. So we personally don't care if you're not showing the Fox style and in that video, because we want to be able to see what your personality is, because you learn a lot through those solo videos. Now, once you get into the group dance and the stand routines and all of that, now we're not looking for all of that. So it's a little bit different, but I think again, that's something that coaches should probably make a statement about. If you guys are requiring a solo video like we do, they have to do their own solos that they put together, then make sure it's clear that whether you want them to do it in the style of Alabama A&M or Alabama State or South Carolina State or whatever it is, or if it's something that you really just want them to be creative and to show what it is that they want to do. That's a good question, Tiara. Again, and Coach Magruder, in the solo video, I'm looking for whether or not you can dance. I do require certain technical skills, and I outline that in instructions. Yeah. Right. Okay. And then it's a personal choice as far as genre. Yeah. And we do the same thing. It's a personal choice for them. They can do whatever it is they want to do. However, I will say that if a dancer is going to pick for their style hip hop, you still need to throw something in there that shows that you have some technique, or something. You got to be creative with hip hop, because for one, unless you're auditioning for one of the basketball teams. But if you're doing one of the, the fall semester marching band teams, hip hop is going to be, we're going to look at that. We're going to be like, okay, yeah, you project really well and you got all this personality and blah, 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 but second round, you're going to have to show some technique. So just kind of keep that in mind with that particular style. So I think we talked a little bit about interviews. Coach G came on and talked about, the basketball and the competition team specifics. So this time we can go ahead and I want to throw it out to you guys if you have any just burning questions or comments of things that have worked for you in terms of picking, assessing the people that come to your auditions, what you expect to see, that kind of thing. Just now's the time. Just go ahead and throw that out there. Okay. So I want to wrap things up by asking, and I want everyone who wants to answer, but just giving one thought-provoking question, and that is, what is more important to you? Style, technique, ability to learn quickly, or character? That's hard. I can't wait to hear these answers. Okay, who wants to go first?
I'll answer. I'm not a coach, but I'll answer.
No, I want everybody, even if you're not a coach. I want anybody who wants to answer, I want you to answer.
I definitely say character. One thing that my mom always said, but just growing up through college, through life, that just makes so much sense now, is that your gifts can take you where your character can't keep you. And just thinking back to 18-year-old me, I think I was a great dancer. Definitely had a lot of room to grow, but I was a great dancer. I've just always had a really strong personality. And if I felt no, it's no. And I don't care how the coach feels, the band director feels, the captain feels, like no. So just teaching your dancers early, even your children early, because they'll grow up and they'll be, preparing to be in sports or whatever, but just teaching them, learning to be more flexible. I'm 26 and I'm just now figuring out this whole gray area thing, because I'm a Black or white type of person, and gray areas are necessary. And I think it just helps at the high school level to start learning those kind of things before you get to a collegiate level, because the coaches in college don't have to care about you. I mean, high school coaches more so have to care because of there's more parental involvement and activity than it is in college. But in college, no one is coming to save you. So I think that character is most definitely important, and it's easier to start building it at 18 than it is at 20, and you and your coach can't communicate. And if I'm just being very candid, Miss Shawn and I, it's just a move of God, just our relationship now, because when I was younger, I don't think I was a horrible person, but like I said, I didn't have that, okay, it ain't all good, it ain't all bad, there's some room in between. And so just so that they know what they're getting into when they go off to college, even not just for coaches, but just coming into the team. We spoke about it earlier. You're coming into that team's world, into the way that team functions. Nobody cares how good you are or whatever. You just need to be in a space to, of course, speak up for you, but just learn to be flexible. So yeah, character for sure.
I was just going to add that I would have to agree. I joined in a little late. So my name is Renisha Franklin, and can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm the sponsor of the Golden Feline and Flash of Fire auxiliaries at Langston University. So the dance line and the flag line. And someone asked me that question recently, like, what is your, number one, priority? And I would definitely, I didn't call it character. What did I say? I said, I don't remember the way I described it, but it means the same thing as character. In terms, kind of like what the other young lady just said, like, if you're a really good dancer, but you're hard to work with, and that it doesn't matter, if you have a bad attitude or you can't assimilate to the team. I've seen that a lot from when I was a dancer as well as now a coach. People, kind of being really confident in where they came from and their dance abilities there, that they're quick to reference, what they know, right? Where in high school we did this, or where I came from we did this, and they are kind of like stuck in their ways to where they are going to come to this new team and think that they're going to do that same thing or think that they know best, instead of trying to get to know what this team is. And I always say, I kind of use like, the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders, for example, because they're so, well known and been around for a very long time. Like when you see those big teams or any team that you're going to try out for, I feel like you saw something that you liked. Therefore, that's why you're trying to join that team. So why go and join that team and then, want to rebel or change everything or not want to learn that style, right? Not want to learn those traditions, not want to respect what that foundation is. And I also think that character comes into play in a really big way, especially with the different generations. I feel like the generation today is much different. I'm not that old, but they're different from when I danced. Like this, their, level of ego or entitlement or just really being stuck in their ways and not even reverencing the past as much as say we did, right? We were very respectable of people who came before us and tradition and things like that. Whereas I find the kids of today are like, oh, that was basic, or that was high school, or that was low energy, or things like that. And even though the times change and things have progressed in terms of style and things like that, but you always have to pay reverence to the past, right? If without that, this wouldn't be today. So just that character and that just having a sense of leadership, right? Even whether you're the captain or not, like I feel like each person that are on those type of auxiliaries are leaders and should function as such. And so just being self-aware, knowing how to communicate, referencing leadership, and being easy to work with. And I feel like that all folds into character more so than technique and those other things. Of course, those things are important. But like I said, you can dance all day, but if I can't work with you just on a leader to leader level, then what do we have, So.
Right. Absolutely. Anyone else? Thank you, Renisha. This is, I think, our first time actually meeting via
Yes.
Zoom.
yes. I just happened to run across a page on Instagram and then saw your flyer. And I was actually in another virtual conference this morning. That's why I was late. And I was like, oh crap, I forgot about the workshop. So I hopped on as soon as I could. And I don't know if you guys have shared your trial information already, but we will have virtual tryouts as well for both of those teams. We had to redo our flyer, so that's not posted, but it will be, I know the dancers tryouts will be at the beginning of June. And then I think we're gonna have like a first round color guard or flag girl tryout like in May. Mm-hmm. But all of this will be posted on our social media. So our social medias are, Flash of Fire, Flag Line, and Golden Feline Dancers on IG and Facebook. So you can find that there.
Okay. Yeah. And when I see it posted, I go ahead and share it.
Okay.
It as well. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
So is it safe to say we all think that, character is probably the most important quality that we would like to see in our performers? Not saying that those other things aren't important, but yeah. Well, I want to say, of course, you know, thank you guys for giving up a couple hours on your Sunday to come in and sit, and I think, like, I want to again thank my special guests that came in and gave us you know, the benefit of their knowledge.
Oh, yeah, it was nice talking with everybody. I had fun.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Stop your recording, Sean.
Thank you.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday.
Thanks for the invite, guys. It was a really great time, informative. Thanks again.
Thank you, Blair.